Good evening and welcome to the Dundee Sole podcast. I'm sat here with my usual co-host and ZX8000 enthusiast, which is Chris Holmes.
Yeah.
And we're also joined tonight by a Dundee legend who doesn't actually reside in Dundee anymore, but it's a man's brain that I've been wanting to pick for... How long have I been asking to pick your brain for now?
Since we first met.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a man whose brain that I've been wanting to pick for a long time. As I said, it's... the key behind this is to keep teaching the youth of Scotland and the UK and everyone else of these fashion, culture, youth movements that have came through. And I kind of think that anybody who is better to ask these sort of questions than the man that is sitting with us right here, right now. And that is Mr. Wilson. We're going to start off by, we've asked you to bring down your top 5 trainers of all time. All time. So Jason's asked that we'll list everyone before we start asking any questions. So I'll get Scott to list them.
So first off
here, starting right here for the camera to see.
Your Omega Flame, which again,
an iconic one.
Absolutely, but it was also, there's a lot of keyboard warriors saying they had them, and I know fine that they never, because I was there back in the day. I never had them.
I've only ever seen one photo of a Scottish boy in them, and I think you might have seen
the Motherwell boys.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
He's on a roof with a Pringle on, is that right?
Probably. There's a couple that one day they went up to Aberdeen. Definitely Motherwell boy. I know a boy in Perth that had them. I know a girl that had them, but she was a marathon runner. Nell's dad had them, I think, or he had internationals or something, but he was running marathons as well. So all these thousands of folk that said they had them.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess.
Absolute bullshit.
You know what? It's one of before the reissue. Obviously, it was one of those ones that I only knew a few pairs, like a couple of pairs here and maybe a couple of pairs there, and they were impossible to find.
But nobody had them, and nobody wanted them back in the day either. They were on sale racks everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. So I keep calling folk out on Instagram.
Well, that's why we're here. This is what we want to hear. We want to hear the truth.
It's all bullshit. It's just like all these guys. I had them when I was 14. It's like, no, you never.
When was the release? Was it 83? Is that right?
They were probably, I think, I remember them 84, 85-ish.
Right.
I don't really remember them. They must have been out before
when
that.
the casual scene starting to kick off, sort of thing. Yeah.
Like, it went from tennis shoes to running shoes.
Yeah.
But nobody was wearing it. Like, there was literally, I knew one boy in Perth, obviously there was one guy in Motherwell. But it was like, stuff got handed about, you know what I mean? It's like you'd sell stuff. Like, I remember, like, I was speaking to Shaggy Towel about it. Like, there was one Navy Armani hood in Perth that went around about 6 different folk. And he said there was one grey one in Dundee that went about 6 different folk. But every time you went on a away day, somebody else would have it on. Oh, fuck it, they're all wearing Armani there. There's just one sweatshirt. Got to remember, man, it was like 84, 85,
yeah,
86,
man, stuff was expensive.
I was like 14,
and stuff,
15-year-old, man. I was doing milk rounds and paper rounds to buy for this. All that stuff.
The price tags, well, you know what, we'll get into
I think
that.
it's like the prices, I think they were about 35 quid back then.
That was what the retail was, yeah.
Round about that. But that was extortionate.
Yeah.
Same way internationalists, I think they were $36.99.
That's a one that's like test time as well.
Yeah.
Iconic casual shoes, a lot of boys like that.
Well, I had originals boxed. I bought them.
Originals, the blue and yellow colourway, yeah.
And wore them to a United semi-final. I went with Stav and Juicy and Lang and all that. Never had them on, kept them. They still had the actual swing ticket and everything on them. Wore them that day, and all the sponge started coming through the mesh when I was at the game, and I was like, oh.
Why?
I was like, should never have worn them. Paranoid the heel was going to fall off them. The heel, it was just one of those, man.
We've all been there.
Aye, totally.
So the next one in the lineup is this one right here. I have no clue what that's for.
That is Nike ACG Air Escape 3. So
Tongue twister. AG3 Air Escape 3. ACG, sorry.
Air Escape 3s. Really, really limited release. Mate of mine, Joe Cleary, found this shop in Partick that the Nike rep used to sell as samples to. And they used to sell them for like 40, 50 quid. So Joe would go in and buy them all. I'd wait till Joe was skint and then buy them off of him. And we had both colours of them, the navy as well. We had Jordan 3s, black, white.
All samples, yeah.
Oh, so I'm size 8, sample size. Like I'm
the perfect size, yeah.
Honestly, the stuff that we were finding in this shop was bonkers.
That sounds like an absolute gem.
But that's what it was like back then. It was like, I remember what's now the fort. Is it the fort out near Parkhead? There used to be a Cobra Sports there, and somebody came in and said they've got canvas Air Force Ones. So me and Gordon that owned Dr. Jives were like in a taxi. bought every single pair. Like, I think they were 20 quid or 25 quid. And I ended up with like
What year is this, sorry?
Be probably about 93, 94-ish. But Air Force Ones were really hard to get.
Right.
Like, you couldn't get them in this country. Gordon used to bring them back to the States. Fraser Cook, who I was talking about earlier on, who's now head of Nike Japan, was working for a shop called Passenger. He was going to New York, bringing back, going to all these mom and pop stores, bringing back Shell Toes, Puma Clydes. That's where all that shit was going on. But like, they were sales shoes
like
again.
the hip hop movement. So like, we're on the go
it was
stuff.
like it was like that hip hop streetwear, that whole thing. Because that, like, back then was the birth of Supreme. Nego just started Bathing Ape. Stussy was obviously massive back then. Like I was saying earlier on, this is all brands that these
now,
kids
but kids think they're all new.
Yeah, they think they've invented these brands and they're like 20 odd year old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, man.
So we were doing like things like that. Like Burton's were selling Puma Clydes for 7 quid, 8 quid a pair.
Wow.
I went and bought all them up, flipped them for 30, 40 quid a pair. Like that's what you had to do back then.
Yeah, entrepreneur, man.
There was another
the internet, wasn't
yeah, totally.
This is before anybody like.
This is
it's a big
before
business
mobile
now,
phones.
but
This was like, well, that was always my dream when I worked in Jives, was to win the lottery, get a Winnebago, and go to the top of Canada, all the way down to South America, emptying all these mom and pop shops.
you know what? Yeah, they're still finding like these wee gems today.
Totally.
They're still there.
Well,
yeah,
I remember Duffer of St George, they were doing the same, bringing in shell toes, things like that. And apparently Eddie Pendergrast found a warehouse in Africa somewhere, and it was like thousands of pairs of shell toes in it. I think he was buying them for like £2 a pair. We're selling them for 80 quid at home.
have you seen that new find that's been found in Asia recently?
No.
A lot of leisure shoes and like old school Madrids. And, like,
Oh, really?
anyway, I'll show you. I'll show you when we come off camera. It's crazy.
Oh,
what they
wow.
found. But yeah, like it's just to
See, that was
prove.
my dream, man. Imagine that.
These shops are still out there.
Yeah. Well, I actually did it. It was one of the kids that worked for us in Dr. Jives, Dan Purton, still my boy, went to Corfu on holiday. Said I found this shop and they had Run DMC Brown Lows, which was the shoe that came out after the Ultra Star. And I was like, didn't believe you. He went, no, honestly, swear to God, had the Run DMC poster in them. Well, how did you not buy them? Me and the girl was seeing at the time went to Corfu, found the shop, and it had one of those sliding ladders on the rail.
Oh, wow.
And broken Greek trying to say, and I was like, can I go through these? And she's like, can I look through these boxes? And she was like, I just got the ladder and went. Pairs of brown lows, all Run DMC boxed, Adidas Run DMC posters. Got a pair of canvas Vandals for Leona, the girl was going out with at the time. Got white lights. Honestly, I came back with about a dozen pairs of shoes, flipped them all, paid for the holiday.
You've got to jump. You've got to jump on these sort of finds. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? That's. I wish that would happen to me.
But honestly, I was doing it for years. Mate Duffy had a shop called County Sports in Perth, and back then he would let me and Brecon go through the catalogue and order shoes you couldn't get. So I was ordering New Balance tennis shoes because nobody was wearing New Balance tennis shoes. Brecon ordered Lendl Supremes because everybody was wearing ZXs at that time. And then he came across. He was mates with Adidas rep. Got a load of old shoes. Do you want them? It was all vintage Gazelles, original OG 70s Gazelles, Canadian ones.
They're like hen's teeth, man.
Have you seen the 80s Casuals book? The very first one they did. And it was like the Internationalists in that were mine. And the vintage Gazelles, the red and the pink ones were mine as well.
I think I have seen this.
So they were 70, I think they were for 74, made in Canada.
Yeah.
I had hundreds of them. I was getting them for Duffy for 12 quid and flipping them for 35 quid, 40 quid.
Imagine how much you'd be able to flip them for now.
I know.
I've sold a pair of them like recently.
They were the really
Is that the red
pointy
ones?
ones.
Aye.
Aye.
Beautiful shoe. Beautiful shoe.
brilliant
The only
shoe.
thing that annoyed me about that was the tongue was really, really thin.
Yeah.
But apart
And the
from
laces
that,
were that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were probably brick hard. Like it was that like really cut your fingers on it nylon.
yeah, it sort of gets like that.
Yeah.
After blood, there's a pair hanging in my shop right now. But there's a blue pair, right enough.
But back then it was like where there's a will, there's a way, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was literally like,
Come what they're like. We've already started with some great stories already. We've even got through the fucking list yet.
I know.
Right, the next one is thank you to Deck Green, by the way. It's one I put it up. I knew it was going to be funny. I put it on my page just for a laugh, just to see the reaction. It's I've never actually seen a pair.
I think Barry Downey's got a pair as well.
Does he?
Yeah.
Barry's never told.
God, I should have bought them, man.
Did you never have a pair then? No.
I did.
Yeah.
But
Did these come through Manifesto, actually, this reissue?
no, because I would have had a pair.
Yeah.
We had them.
Yeah.
So the day I got them, ended up in hospital with a fractured skull. Went to Stirling to get them for Intersport. So it was the only place we could get them. And Finney, my mate, wanted a pair as well. So he paid my train to go and get them. So that kind of they were 45 quid back then. Sure, they were about 45.
This is 86, I think that was first.
Yeah.
Release. Yeah.
What age were you in 86?
1971, 15.
15, yeah.
So I would have been 16th. It was the day of my birthday. It was
Yeah, we
So
just
we-
getting into trainers at that stage,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right,
So
so
got-
you're
got
on the
hiding.
train.
there
You're on the
was
train to
about
get them.
4 or 5 of us went and gave some shit to a couple of lads when we seen them. And then we'd walking through Stirling and started walking back towards Benetton. Used to be in the front. And honestly, there was maybe 30 of them. But they weren't, the casuals weren't doing anything. It was this guy that looked like Brian Johnson with AC/DC. Had a flat cap on and a sleeveless t-shirt in January. And there was a couple, like, typical, we'd go off the train, walked into Intersport, seen 2 or 3 other young boys. And I was like, you got a problem? They bolted.
This is in the height of the casual scene.
Yeah, it's just like, 86-ish, you said. And this Brian Johnson dude comes up to me and says, you got a problem? And just scorned me. Like, absolutely clean knocked me out. Like, literally knocked me out. So, and like,
Got me a fractured skull.
well, no, they got taken to hospital and they x-rayed me and I didn't have a fractured skull, thankfully, but it felt like it. But the first thing I do remember was covering the shoes. Literally, that's it. Just curl. God, I can't lose them. I can't lose them.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Next one on the list is a shoe that I seen you. Well, I say this right. This is a big point I want to ask you today as well.
Yeah.
A big point is that there's a myth that the City Series were on the terraces. I have looked and looked and looked for.
Never. No.
Did you ever see any?
No.
Number
But
one.
that wasn't like back then. I mean, it was 87 I bought them
Right.
because I was in Newcastle and the jumper I've got on in that photos, classic Nouveau I bought in life in Newcastle.
Like a brownie jumper, is that
No,
right?
it's cream and I had
That
burgundy.
just
It's
because
like half zip. Yeah, it's an old
yeah,
photo.
yeah.
And literally in JD Sports, it must have been one of the first JDs, quite a big one. And it was a toss up between buying these Safaris or buying them. And I just thought, they look a bit more casual. They're just a bit mental.
I'm so glad that you bought them because, as it says, the only picture I've ever seen
But
of a
again, that's like the Omega Flame myth.
as well, yeah.
But I had Dublins. No, you never. Honestly, like none of like the Perth. We had what, maybe 100, 120 folk, and it was ZXs. It was Pumas,
Adoras.
Theodoras. Yeah, it wasn't even Forest Hills.
No.
Nah. It was,
See what, right? I said this the other week. I always thought Forest Hill was one that they snuck in. I didn't
nah.
really.
I mean, apparently, obviously, Liverpool and that wore them.
Well, they hold it.
We never had them.
It's the Wade Smith story, but like I don't know. In no photos, I don't see no Forest Hills. I go off what I could see.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, the only guy that I've ever seen in Scotland with a pair of suede flats is him right there.
It was Adidas jeans.
That pair of Adidas jeans, that is the only
And
pair.
these were both in the sale.
Both
And
in the
that's
sale
like,
at the time.
and I only, because I'd bought that jumper, it was 130 quid, which 87, like,
Lot
that's
of money.
stupid money.
Yeah.
And I had enough, I'd like, oh, and I'm sure these were 40 quid or 35 quid, and I think they were like 30 odd
The
quid.
colour on that photo, they're popping.
Ah,
They're
totally.
absolutely
And
popping.
it's still one of my favourite shoes because it's just still such a brilliant shoe.
And I'll let you take the last one of your top 5, bud, because again, I wouldn't be able to do that justice.
So basically, this was Stash's graffiti artist that did that tattoo. Off. Like, become great mates. He basically, when,
Is he New York based? Yeah.
yes, original Brooklyn, he was like Futura's like early. He was like late 70s, early 80s. toured with the Clash, became best mates with Joe Strummer, all that shit.
Seriously, yeah.
Stash was the kid that kind of mucked about with them, but became huge in his own right. Collabed with Nike. He did the BW first, the blue one, which came out. Then he did this 2003 with a flight case.
Just here on camera,
so the fat caps is like one of his like signature things. Which
sorry, how limited is this? How many were made?
Not the one on the box, the one on there, and the one I think that's the one night only one as well, isn't it? So basically, the original one, 2003, there was 250 London, 250 New York, 250 Tokyo. Each thing, London's obviously the blue flight case. Sure, New York was the grey, Tokyo was the red. And then in 2007 was the 25th anniversary of Air Force Ones.
Yeah.
So a big party in New York, massive Nike party, like huge. Like every sponsored Nike athlete was there. And as you came in, there was girls dressed as flight attendants with a MacBook Air or MacBook, whatever it was in 2007, and had every Air Force One that's ever been made, every colourway, one. Dashes one. So then they'd re-released the shoe as a gift for $5 or something they made.
That was number 65, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Again, that was in Manifesto. Friday afternoon, got my mobile went dash, and I'm like, he never phones. Everyone all right? And he went, yeah. Brooklyn. Give this guy your address. I was like, what's it for? And he said, you'll find out. And about 3-4 weeks later, UPS brought the one night only shoes. What? Yeah, absolutely, man.
Right, mate, so I'm just going to start for the very start, right? I'm just going to take you back to like one of the first trends you've seen, how it all started for you, where you took your interest.
Well, basically, be casuals.
Casuals.
So, first year, literally, I was a rocker at primary school because all the kids I was in a wee...
What were you listening to that made you a rocker?
AC/DC, Motorhead. My actual nickname back then used to be Motorhead because of the denim jacket with Motorhead. There's still people in Perth that will shout, all right, Motorhead. Which I kind of wish that had stayed, to be quite honest with you.
It would be cool.
So that was like primary 6, primary 7. And then went up to secondary school, got in with this, still my best mate, Scott Breakin, and we became mods. Used to come through Dundee. It was one of our mates' cousins was a mod through in Dundee. So he used to come out through here.
It was like, with the mods kicking about the streets of Dundee, quite big numbers back then.
Yeah, just to hang about what was the old...
You see like the mods, the punks, you see like obviously rockers, break dancers.
Well, that was the weird thing. In Perth especially, you were pretty much a breaker or a casual.
That was that?
There was a few folk kind of couldn't make their mind up, but literally it was more or less.
Was the look similar? Was it like...
Like, I kind of like the b-boy look was pretty cool, like ski hats and ski goggles, man. I just thought that was the best thing ever. But if they all wore Nike windbreakers. We all wore Adidas.
What was on their feet? Was it Pumas or was it Adidas? Or?
Yeah, it'd be like anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It was...
And hip hop related,
pretty much. But I don't think it was Sheltos and stuff like that. Like that was way too early for us guys. But the first pair I bought, like, so basically, I think it was the second half of first year, like Christmas, I think it was 1984 Christmas.
Casual scene started just taking off in Scotland.
Yeah, it was obviously a lot. Like, well, I was only 13 at the time, so like, it was actually Breakin's cousin Splash. Bumped into him one Saturday in John Menzies. He was wearing a tracky top. We were still wearing parkas and fucking jam shoes and shit. We were like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'm a casual. I'm like, what? Can't be a casual, you're a mod. He's like, no, not anymore, I'm not. Like, one day you'll all be like this. We're like, no, never going to happen. 2 weeks later, boom. Christmas. What do you want for Christmas? Went down to... There used to be a Pringle outlet at Kinross near the market. 2 Pringle jumpers.
The Pringle's the birth of for a lot of people, is it? The very first one.
Totally, it was, but like there, I think they were like maybe 40 quid. But down there, they were like 20 quid because it was all seconds.
Was that the Pringles just with the lion on it, like not the Nick Faldo ones?
No. They were later, but nobody really wore them anyway. But I'd got a black crew neck with a white lion with Pringle on it, and a white and sky blue. There's a photo of me actually in front of my granddad's caravan with Puma Dallas on, bleached jeans, Wyland Scott polo neck, and that Pringle.
The Dallas is a legendary runner.
Brilliant shoe. But that wasn't my first shoe because I couldn't afford them. They were $16.99. And I'd spent all my like pretty much between. I'd bought
Pringle.
The 2 Pringles I got for Christmas. My gran had an account at this jean shop called Benny's, so I was allowed to go and get a pair of bleached jeans on her account for my Christmas.
You remember what kind they were?
They were Wrangler. Couldn't get it. They weren't Lee.
They weren't
Lee.
Lee.
I'm not one of them. Like, I wasn't wearing Lee in 1984, man. And then I'd Tiras Cagoule. It was grey with a gold line and then the navy top.
Right, okay, yeah, I know.
Sky blue with white and navy as well.
Yeah.
And that was 17 quid or 18 quid, I think that was. But that sounds like pennies now.
Yeah.
But it was like...
Did you ever see the Colorado? You know,
that was later. That was maybe 84, 85. They were brilliant.
Yeah,
that was another...
A lot of people still want them now.
Oh yeah, Colorado. But they've reissued them. Like when I was doing the buying manifesto, anytime they did a Colorado, I barred it down. Oh, because like it's still such a nostalgic piece. But the Colorado came after everybody stopped wearing Adidas and track.
Right, okay, because the trends were changing like this, weren't they?
Like mental. Like absolutely rapid. And Perth, we were really, really fortunate because later we had Valentinos, which...
Subjects which I really want to pick your brain about,
mate, like that was so... Like...
There was nothing else in the area at the time, was there?
Nothing really in Scotland, to be quite honest with you. No, because we used to get a lot, like, I don't know, good mates with a few of the HIBS lads, and they used to come through because we had really, really good stuff back then. But obviously, Dundee are broth. If you had to come to Perth, it was like dawn raids. But you had to remember there was me, Brechin, Zamo, Morris Ferry. We all worked in the shop. So if anybody appeared in the shop, it was like you're phoning folks' houses. There's Dundee in.
So taxing went on then, basically,
No, really. No, in Perth, we weren't that kind of crew. But it would kick off, like, absolutely.
No clues were taken off, it would just kick off.
There's a few Dundee folk trying to nick shit. Like, there's some guys, you're probably too young to ever been in Valentino's, but in Perth, there was this wee narrow staircase that went up.
I've seen the photo that you're at the bottom.
So basically, that staircase, there was a wee window at the top. And somebody got caught throwing stuff out the window. It was a wee pendy around the back and nicking it. And then there was one other time, it wasn't a day I was working, and some Dundee boys had came through and robbed the shop. And Henry'd phoned, I don't know if it was the arcade where we used to hang about, or the Gowrie. If it was the Gowrie, I wasn't there because I was only like 14, 15 at the time. And it's just like that. Wherever he phoned, he went, look, Dundee are in, they've nicked a load of stuff. I'm not telling you what to do, but their train leaves in half an hour. So that was that.
Brilliant, man. That was one of the stories. Valentino's is something I want to pick up. But obviously, you said yourself, it was like there was nothing like that in Scotland. No. So, like, this was a hub for where it was going on.
Yeah, for sure.
What sort of clothes were in Valentino's to start with?
Well, at the time, at the very start, it was things like French Connection, which sounds like nothing. But at that time, but like you're talking like 85, I think, maybe 86. That this stuff you couldn't get. I think it was another brand called Moustache. Never heard of. And then slowly, as we were getting into it, he started picking up other things that were coming, like Matinique.
Yeah. Was he picking your brains? Because obviously the youth will know what's coming in quicker than anybody else.
No, to be quite honest with you, I think everybody was quite naive back then, because I was being 40 used to speak about it all the time. And even when 40 opened Manifesto, which was 86, I think Henry was maybe a year and a half before Manifesto. And 40 didn't want That's not what Forey had envisioned Manifesto to be. Was that because he'd been in London, so he was trying to bring like E-Mob and like all these mental cool London brands. And this is digressing from Valentino's to Manifesto, but it's a similar story. And then Forey brought in one of the guys he was dealing with, said, look, try this retour. Forey said, I don't want that. And he says, look, take it for a weekend. Here you go on with it. Beck Green came in and bought something, sold the whole lot out that weekend. We were doing retour in Valentino's as well. And that's when Forey went, wait a minute, there's something in this. And I think literally between him and Henry, it was literally like, do you want this brand that sounds Italian? I'm like,
Manifesto was in Perth first, was it?
no, Manifesto was Dundee.
Manifesto was in Dundee.
Valentino's in Perth first. But Forey's always said if Henry'd opened in Dundee rather than Broughty Ferry, Manifesto probably wouldn't exist. But Henry thought, I don't think Henry had the balls to take Manifesto on at the time. So that's why I think he went to the ferry.
It was next to the train track.
Yeah, it was just, was it Brown Street? Was it Brown Street?
You mentioned it to me before, haven't you? Did it last long in the ferry?
A few years, but it was like Brocky and Deck Green worked there. Scott Royal, Mike Cullen and stuff like that. It was like...
Deck's always getting in a bit the close.
Well, that was the thing. Deck battered me the first proper fight I ever got in. Threw watermelons at me. You can ask him that story. Threw a watermelon mate in the street in Perth.
Was this on football day, like, or just?
Yeah. No, it was like our first. Must have only been 14, if that, 13, 14, and it was. Sure, it was meant to be like a friendly, and I can't remember if it was Dundee or United, and I'm sure Brechin told me it was like a hay bale or something fell on this farmer, and it was some fucking charity thing. Or I can't remember, but the game got called off. But Dundee came through anyway. And at Perth Station, if you come at Perth Station, there's quite a nice old building across it. It's like, I think it's like apartments now. Yeah. But you can, basically the car park around the side, you can see the train coming round. So there was like maybe 12 of us, if that. It was like me, Higgins, Brechin. I think Bruni was there maybe. I can't remember who was all there, to be honest with you. And this train came round. And all I remember was this guy, full beard. I was like fucking 14 years old. Burberry ski hat, Burberry floppy hat, Burberry golfer with a collar up, Burberry scarf, full beard. Turns out it was Deck Green. And we were just like, oh fuck. And ran and kept running, man. And we just got chased all day that day. Honestly, it was just,
where did the watermelon come from?
We were coming down the old high street where Kennedy's was actually in the corner, around the corner where Valentino's was. And they were chasing us. Like one of our mates, Minty, we'd been in the arcade because that's where we hung out, and he'd won. It was all tokens. So I think he'd won like 20 quid in tokens, and that's all we had to throw at them. So we're throwing these tokens, and then, but I think Higgins was maybe the oldest one out of us, like that was with us, and he's 3-4 years older than me. And we were throwing these tokens at them, and then it was just getting closer and closer. Ran past this fruit shop and just fucking picked up watermelons and started watermelons in winter in 1984, man.
Was this like every week occurrence in Perth? Because like when the football's going on,
Perth was, do I say fortunate? Obviously, St Johnstone were like, they were up and down leagues back then. I think they were
like Dundee.
Won the first division then, but went all the way down to the third and then came all the way back up again.
All right, okay. Stadium, was it Love Street?
No,
that was St Mirren.
Muirton Park was the best stadium in the best ground in the whole world. Absolutely brilliant ground.
This is before my time, I think.
I remember being at it once with my dad when I was younger.
Oh, it was brilliant. But Perth being where it was, like, we only had max 100, 120, but it was all really good guys.
Perth's well, it's a city now, actually, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
But
at the time, it was a town, was
it? Pretty tight crew. Like if you ran, you weren't allowed back, basically, or if you dressed for shit, you weren't allowed to come. And the majority of us are still fucking brilliant mates now, as all the utility guys, or the Dundee soccer crew as they used to be in my day. And like where Perth is, like if Aberdeen were travelling away, they would come through Perth. if Hibs or Hearts were going anywhere, like Dundee or Aberdeen, they'd come through Perth. Same with Glasgow, like Rangers.
Getting it left, right, and centre.
Totally. But
Yeah.
we kind of like, as we've got older, we've all become mates, and we had a no bad rep for like a wee town. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Certainly one of the best stress mobs in Scotland. Anyway,
You always say this.
without a doubt. Well, a lot of the other boys will say that as well.
I said to you before you showed me that 450 on your Met, I had never seen a pair of 450s in a
Really?
photo. Nah, never, man.
Well, even in that photo of me with the jeans, Muggsy standing next to me, he's got Questars on as well. So that's definitely 87, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, but that had to be.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. I was too busy looking at your jeans. But yeah, where were we on the subject? We're in about 1985, right? You're in Valentino's and there's trends popping off all left, right, and centre.
Well, that's the thing. Like you were saying, like literally things were moving
at like a fast rate.
totally. Like, and we were doing stupid shit. I remember I'd met one of the Hearts boys on holiday, and went through. Once we came home for the holiday, went through to stadium and went to Hearts HIBS game, and on the Friday night went down to the Haymarket bar and met who I think was one of Hearts' top boys, Laurie Douglas. Sat with him all night, had a brilliant laugh with him. Like, but again, I was only 17, if that. And mental Hibs picked right off in Haymarket after the game, and it was mental. It was
Hibs
like,
had a notoriously bad,
absolutely, I was petrified.
badass image at this
I was
time,
like,
yeah.
fucking hated, like, just put the fear of God in me.
As if you're working in the shop, you're getting seen a lot actually
But
as well.
Knew,
Eh?
like, we knew a few of them as well, and they were all pretty decent.
Yeah.
till you
On
went,
game day.
aye. Yeah. Or if you went shopping, again, like in Edinburgh, we used to try and get through at 9 o'clock in the morning, and aye, and then invariably you get caught, and it was just. We had one time bumped into, been to Bazzini, which used to be in the bottom of Coburn Street, went through to get Classic Nouveau and different things that you were getting in Perth, and came down for Coburn Street, thought we'd got on fucking great, and walked right into Brad Welsh's mob. And they were those same age as us, but fuck me, man. It was just, and basically tried to tax us. We bolted. It was me, Breakin and Higgins were definitely there. I can't remember who else was with us. I think Crispy might have been with us. And ran through the St James Centre. Then security guards were trying to stop us. We were like, getting no way, just going. Got to the bus station, got on the bus, and thought, oh, for fucking safe. They fucking came on the bus. They came on the bus, started fighting. We were fighting with them on the bus. They were still trying to.
You had nowhere to go.
And then I can't remember if the police came or if security came and got them off the bus. And we were like, oh,
it sounds like the Warriors.
It was.
That's what it's like.
But again, you were 15, 16-year-old, and of course I was just like, oh no. So they get taken off the bus pulls away. We're like,
Yeah.
so they're running after the bus, and we're like, fucking stops at a red light.
That mob's notorious, is it?
Oh, they were.
Yeah, big time.
And I've become really good mates with a couple of them now as well, and it's brilliant just remembering all that shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just.
Oh, mate, this is what I mean. It's great stories that like people meet.
And it's like guy like based on us are 50 and over now.
Yeah.
So that's.
It sounds like that. Does it? Sounds like the Warriors, does it? That is what exactly what it
it's
sounds
just
like.
a bit like fucking. We've all got stories for days like that. Do you know
I
what I
like
mean?
the fact that you're having to go out of Perth just to get stuff like that. No, like
We didn't hate it, but it was just like
just
if
want
somebody was
something
going, you'd go,
different,
oh fuck,
yeah,
I'll
I
go
was just
too.
going to see what's kicking about.
And then you just instantly regretted it. Just like, why the fuck did we do? But that must have been like everybody else coming to Valentino's.
Yeah.
Because no matter, like, even though Perth was a wee mob, if there's only 4 or 5 of you, and all of a sudden there's 20 guys, you're like, oh fuck.
I was going to sink there.
Oh,
and
it is,
then,
it's
is it?
awful. But it's funny, again, in our conversation I had with Shaggy Towel, is like, away days, you'd get on the train, it's like, your fucking stomach was like a washing machine, but nobody would tell MD. Everybody was feeling the same. Everybody was shitting themselves.
Like you're going to war feeling
I
sort
was
of
just
thing.
like, oh, why am I doing this? But we all did it. But I'm glad we did.
I think it's a good way to describe like brotherhood at a start, especially at a
completely,
young,
and it
young
still
age.
is 30 odd years later. It still literally is. It's like, but not just with all my Perth mates. Like everybody obviously been in Dundee 25 years. Like I've become best mates with fucking nearly everybody that was part of that. And fuck it, and like no load of the HIBS squad. Totally, and then no loads of the Aberdeen
for
boys.
almost 30 years, well, for more than 30 years.
Mental. Like from Valentino's right through as well.
My wife hates Wilson. My wife hates them. I spent so much money in that shop.
So what trainers were you wearing about this time?
So the first ones I ever bought were Puma Match because I only had 15 quid in my savings account.
Pair of them.
So that was literally, and I couldn't get a pair of Adidas kick in my size. And I couldn't afford Sambas because kicks were about 19 quid, Sambas were 29.99. I had £15 and I'd spent all my money on.
Is this like when there's no much else on the go? Is this the Samba Mamba Bamba days basically?
Yeah, and I was 13.
Yeah, sure.
So there was that as well.
Yeah.
And then like all the older boys were wearing things like Juvelis, California. California were, I fucking loved Californias because they were like, they weren't white. Do you know what I mean? They were like, and that's what again, like you said, no mobile phones.
No CCTV.
Nothing. There was no internet. And like you were like what I used to do was I'd Sky School on the Wednesday and go to Aberdeen, go to Glasgow and see what other folk were wearing. And then I'd went up to Aberdeen one day and noticed like no dressed as a casual though. Like didn't do that. I wasn't getting pulled up. Well, you get pulled up, where you fit? Done that. And you'd see like, and I'd noticed like going to Aberdeen folk starting to wear running shoes. They weren't wearing as many tennis shoes, or if they were wearing tennis shoes, they were wearing Californias because they were red and blue and they weren't white. So I thought next pair, like Christmas, my birthday's in January, so I was like, I want a pair of coloured trainers.
White trainers.
No. So that must have been, I don't know if it was 83 or January 84 or 84 going into 85. Can't remember. But I wanted January. I was like, I want Puma Dallas, and they were $18.99, and that's what I got for my birthday because I didn't want white tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Because I heard that like Aberdeen weren't wearing it.
Like as we said, the trends are going out as well.
And that was still the bleached jeans. Like that was literally Pringles Polo X.
The tennis shoes always said to me is one of the first ones you're ever going to see on the terrace. Ever.
Absolutely.
So, like Stan Smiths, Eudora,
Borgalice, massively.
But
they were
like Wimbledon's as well. Do you ever see them kicking about?
No, really up in Scotland, now and again. But literally, that was more an England. Like Nike, wasn't he that prevalent?
Big. Yeah.
Really?
This is pre-Jordan and stuff.
Oh, like this was way before that. Like it seems like decades before that, even though it was only really like 4 years.
Yeah, till he came out. Yeah.
Like, well, Jordan ones were what, 86, I think.
Was it 85? Was it? I'm not 100% sure, but
at Aberdeen, I saw a guy wearing.
Is that his rookie season or something? 85.
Yeah.
Is that when he got it? Or?
Yeah. Was it? Yeah, because they I think they'd signed him just after North Carolina.
Yeah.
And
his first season in the Bulls. It's been a while since I watched that. The Last Dance.
Brilliant, yeah.
So
I saw a guy wearing Jordans in Aberdeen. Like
on one of your trips up to Aberdeen?
Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck are they? Which is maybe why my style changed.
There and then?
Not there and then, because I was still like, I was still like...
This is the first time you've seen a Jordan?
Yeah. And it must have been 85, 86.
You know what it was?
No, that's why I was just like, what the fuck are they? Red, white and black. The original breads, I was like, wow, they're amazing. But they were high tops, basketball shoes, like nobody was wearing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the first Nikes I bought were a pair of trophies, which I only found out recently. I thought it was a different colour of Pegasus. Or no, I thought they were Nikes. I thought it was a different colour of Cirrus. Because Cirrus in this country was silver with a burgundy swoosh. And we'd went on a school trip, I think it was 1985, I think. And Breakin, who was always with me, we went on a school trip and it was Germany and Amsterdam. And we found that, as you did, went to every fucking sports shop you could find. Found a sports shop. So it must have been 85 because Breakin bought a pair of Tashini tennis shoes, which we'd never seen. And they were 18 quid or something.
One of the big clumpy ones. Or was
they were quite clumpy, and it just had a wee square that had Sergio Tashini and the S just light on the side of them.
Right, okay, yeah.
And I was like, nah, I was in Aberdeen, they're all wearing running shoes. And this is when I'd just seen internationalists and things like that. So I'd found these, now what I've found out are called trophies. So they were like a sky blue mesh, navy suede with a burgundy swoosh. For some reason I put pink laces in them. So I was doing stupid shit like that back then. And I got them, they were £12, and honestly, I thought it was the best thing I'd ever bought. I don't know why, and I'd never seen anybody else with them. But there's a guy got a pair on eBay, and they're not my size, but I'm kind of half thinking.
Want it for the nostalgia thing.
Just to have them
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah, it's a collector's thing as well, is it?
Yeah, totally. It's just like, used to have them, I need to
Yeah,
have
like
them
a
again.
lot of boys are like that. That's how I make a lot of money.
Quite right too, aye.
Michael Jordan signed his deal with Nike in 1984.
The shoe didn't come out to 85 then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just says he started his journey with them in 1984.
Adidas' biggest mistake in history, that is it? You know what? The world wouldn't be the same if it was like that. So
No.
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't, well, that's why the Jordan 2 is one of my favourite shoes, which is why I brought the Dave White painting that's behind you.
right there, yeah.
Yeah, so
Camera.
so basically that was the first Nike shoe they produced without a swoosh on it,
I heard that Michael Jordan hated that shoe.
probably. But it was an Italian guy who designed it. Again, it looks like a
Something
Lakers
because
shoe.
they brought a new designer in for the Jordan 3 or something at the
It
time.
was Tinker Hatfield, was it not?
The legendary thing, yeah. And that
And then
kept
he
him at
did
the brand
4s
or
and
something.
5s as well, yeah.
Yeah.
The 5s are my favourite.
2s are kind of my favourite. They're probably, but 4s and 5s are kind of my favourites.
Ah, yeah.
And I
I
kind of like
resold
6s.
these. I stuck the sole back down for you earlier on. An unusual thing happened to me that never really happens is I was getting chased up by Nike boys. I had about at least 10 to 15 messages asking for
really?
these for sale, yeah. Yeah, and I was, I'm not a racist guy, and there was a lot of black men that
Wow.
really, really wanted
Well, that's
these.
what, it was really funny. Like a few years ago, I'd kind of got done with wearing like technical sneakers and went back to wearing like Jack Purcells. And I think it was like when the Chuck 70s and stuff came out, kind of went a bit lo-fi almost. And all my mates in America were going fucking mad for Jordans. But that's then I kind of got back into them again as well. So everything's cyclical.
Nike is, you would have seen this as well. See, like in the sort of 90s, I was like, before Nike proper dominated the market, there's like, the streets didn't exactly fully know what they liked or what was the best.
Yeah.
You've got like,
Well, that's because Adidas and Puma were like still.
even Fila was up there in the 90s as well.
Well, they've rock. What the fucking they?
Is it Grant Hills or something? That was the drive.
It was the one that was like everybody wore them
was that-
clubbing.
Yeah, aye.
There's that
Yeah.
hiking
It
boot.
was like a hiking thing, that had the metal eyelets and everything on
Aye.
them. Yeah.
Oh man, they were mental.
Yeah.
That with the big black sole.
Big
and it had
black
the-
sole,
yeah.
You got them in red and purple and
Aye.
everything, didn't you?
It was like bang
One of
on
my
for
ex-girlfriend had a
like
pair of purple.
Raven,
Yeah.
like that whole clubbing thing.
That was Raven gear,
Oh
yeah.
aye, but they were like, they must have sold millions of them.
Go on, Chris, ask him about British Knights and Troop. And
You'll remember Travel Box. Well, Manifesto sold Travel
Sorry,
Box.
Valentino's.
Yeah.
I remember Henry driving down to London.
That's my wife's favourite pair of trainers. You sold her a pair. She
Oh
said.
really?
Yeah.
My
Her
God.
Travel for
Well, that's what.
chippy jeans.
yeah, you actually said that this podcast before, did you?
Yeah, I've mentioned it before.
Yeah, you got a name drop for Chris before. Yeah.
Again, guilty.
You name dropped on this a few times actually, has he?
Yeah.
I'll take that. Cheers, mate.
No,
I
man.
remember Henry for Valentino's. Him and Brecon hired the biggest estate car they could get because they couldn't get a van, and drove down to London. I'm sure it was the boot store that was selling them, and it was like everything was cash and carry back then. Like literally everything. Even going by in Stussy, we'd go down to the Stussy showroom, and you would buy what they had. It wasn't nothing was forward ordered. Like if you had a good weekend in the shop, you had more money to go and fucking buy
You're
stuff.
basically what you think is going to be the best as well. But
Yeah.
what's there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were reading The Face, you were reading ID, you were reading Arena, you were reading Sky Magazine, and you were literally, like, we'd be in Valentino's, like, go to McConnell's and newsagents, every day there was a new magazine come out, fucking rifling through it and going, fuck, that's cool, phone them up and go, we've got a shop in Perth, can we order some of your stuff? All right, aye. And that was literally what was happening. Before he was doing it in Manifesto, when we were, do you know what I mean? It was literally those, like, everybody's scrabbling to get all
the best sort of stuff.
Yeah, and you were literally going, fuck.
You're hunting for it.
Yeah, or you'd go down to London. I used to say Sky School on a basically I could get the night bus down to Perth on a Tuesday night. I think it left about 11, going to Victoria Station about 6 in the morning, and then I could get the train at 5:30 for King's Cross, back, and I got me back into Perth about 11:30 on the Wednesday night. But I used to go and buy trainers you couldn't get, t-shirts you couldn't get, fanzines, mixtapes, and just hustle it all. And that would pay for the trip. But then I'd have stuff that
You're bringing it back and bringing it to the people for that. There's a need for
but
it.
again, it was that not.
But that's been an entrepreneur back in the day.
Let's look what these kids are doing now. And I was literally doing it to buy myself more stuff, and have stuff that nobody else had as well, and being not trying to be one step ahead, but just having something.
You've got to be
totally
one step
different.
ahead in this sort of thing. You've got to be. And like you say, when you're researching it and everything,
and that's what kind of pisses me off now about the youth. Like they've not paid their dues, I didn't think. Do you know what I mean? I think like you'd go up to somebody and go, where the fuck did you get them? Like, I'm not fucking telling you. That's what it used to be like.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, these took me 2 years to find. Go and fucking find them yourself. Whereas now kids are like StockX or...
Yeah, just right at your fingertips.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've used it myself to get stuff that I'm not queuing up at fucking 6 in the morning for Emily's. I'd rather pay 50 quid more for something.
Yeah.
Fuck that. But I don't know, I liked... For us, back then, it was the hunt. Like, you'd go to old sports shops. You'd go, if you got any old stuff in the basement, and you'd find all this amazing shit. But again, the early 90s, when we were looking for all, like, Nike Vandals, Air Force Ones and stuff like that, we weren't wearing them in 82.
Yeah.
83, 84. We wanted them then. Because we were all rocking Stussy. We were wearing extra large Mike Dee's brand. We were wearing Pervert. We were wearing Fresh Jive. You were wearing Holmes and Bathing Ape Supreme Union.
So this is when hip hop standards are really come into the frame. Is it?
Oh yeah, I mean, fuck, that's golden era.
Yeah,
and that, like, when I was in Jives, that like was probably one of the best times of my life. I mean, I've been so fucking fortunate to have been a casual at the height of being a casual. Was involved with the whole clubbing thing. To the point, even DJing at the Rumba, like going to Fatties when Phil Jordan was DJing, like all that shit. And then even the streetwear thing, again, like I said to you earlier on, we did not have a fucking clue what we were doing. I was just working in a shop that I loved, selling the product that I loved, and meeting all these people that are now fucking massive players in like that whole community. But at the time, like, I still speak to loads of them about it, and they're like, I don't have a fucking clue what we were doing. We were literally like, seat your pants. But it was fun. It was absolutely, like, it was brilliant.
Look at the way it's set to the way it is today, man. You know
it is. It's like all these brands are now household names.
Yeah.
Effectively, most of them. And like Sean Stussy collaborating with Dior. Nigo's now went to Kenzo. Like, these were guys that were just friends with guys that I was friends with. I was like,
and they like in these sort of circles and stuff.
Bacon,
yeah.
Man. Do you know what I mean? It was like knew all the guys in London who were directly friends with. Like, I remember when Fraser Cook got the job at Nike, I was speaking to him in Hideout, and he's like, it's brilliant. It's like, literally, they're just asking me to go through my phone book to my mates. Like Futura, Stash, Nigo. Like, get these guys to make shoes with us. And now I think he heads up Nike in Japan. But absolutely.
There's so much stuff coming.
There's so much clout, man. So much clout.
That seems like such an inspirational time to like.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And to see, like I was saying to you, it's funny, like all these kids think they invented Supreme. It's like, been going since like 94. I had the very first Supreme t-shirt.
Skate shop first, was that? Yeah, it's just a skate shop.
But what had happened was James Jebbia and Sean Stussy had partnered. James Jebbia had a shop called Union, used to sell Stussy. Then him and Sean Stussy opened the Stussy store on Prince Street. But then in 96, Sean Stussy, I don't know if he was pushed, but left his own brand. And I don't think James wasn't sure where Stussy was going after that. But obviously, there was no Sean Stussy behind it.
Yeah, you're unsure.
It could be a very different brand. So he set up Supreme. as this wee skate thing was developing in New York, we had it in Jives. Like, it was Michael Koppelman had Stussy UK, brought in Union, and we had it in Jives. Simon Porter had it in a shop called Fly on King's Road. Other couple wee places. I had the first run of t-shirts, had the very first red box tee, and it wasn't a screen print; it was a heat print.
Very, very first one, yeah. Which is how
I didn't. I had one of the first run.
Yeah.
Not the very first.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it like that. Yeah, like.
But I actually sold it. Turns out I sold mine on eBay, stupidly before everybody wanted Supreme, to the kid that's got every single box t-shirt. He's got, I can't remember his webpage, but he's got, and mine's in it, he bought mine off me. I can't remember the kid. He's only like 25 or something, this kid.
They're going to learn today, man, right?
But it's like, that's like...
Let's talk about the Jives, because like, we'll just skip one thing. We've got a wee bit of Valentino, and like, it sounds like an inspirational time, man.
Oh, Jives was mental. Jives was just...
What year did you start there?
1990.
1990.
So basically, as clubbing was becoming huge, then you had the birth of Mo Wax Records, which we were quite heavily involved with. Again, Fraser Cook, that went to Nike, used to share an office with James Lavelle and Black Market Records, so they all had the same office effectively, because Fraser was selling us clothes. So when we used to go down and buy clothes, we'd got all these Mo Wax promos, like all the Futura artwork on them, shit like that. And then we'd put club nights on in the art school, so we had... Basically, one night we had DJ Shadow, DJ Crush, and Simon from Palmskin Productions, all with one deck each, cutting into each other in Glasgow. And Jive sponsored it. Like, come on, man. Like, if you think back at that now, it's like, what?
Wow.
And at the time, it was just like, fucking hell. And then once we had Black Alicious on, and Stash was doing live paint. First time I ever met Stash. And that must have been, I think Stash said that was about 94 or 95. So I've known him for like
26 years.
Yeah.
Time, man.
Totally. But I'd only met him that night, and then met him later on. I was like, fuck, I know who you are. And just still speak every few weeks. Fucking great. Oh man, he's just the best. So he's just totally most generous guy I've ever met in my life, as you can see from all the I've got even more of that in the house. But
friendships were made
totally, man. And me and Dave, like me and Futura, me and She1, it's like guys that I've loved, but ended up becoming mates with them.
Art's a big thing to you as well.
Oh, massive. Yeah. But just because I like it.
Yeah.
But then again, obviously, all my tags on my legs and stuff.
You've got a tattoo recently done that Stussy sent you. You know what I mean, Cammy done it. I remember seeing it.
That was brass neck. That was totally like what he's been doing. Sean Stussy, like I think after 96, he just went, fucking Stussy, I'm done with this. Went back to making surfboards again. Lived off the money that he got, which I don't think was very much, but back then it maybe was. But only this year he's started going through his old, he did the stuff with Dior. And then...
It's actually an old catalogue or something, like old designs.
No, he literally, Kim Jones just went, Kim Jones used to work at Gimme 5, which was the distributor of Stussy. Right. So he was involved in that whole, he was like part of that London crew that I knew and stuff as well.
Mingled with.
Yeah. Didn't know, I apparently did meet him in Gimme 5 a couple of times, but I didn't know I did, basically. But I know somebody who worked there at the time. He said, no. And he just, like, the last collection was an artist called Kenny Scharf, who grew up with Keith Haring, Warhol, Basquiat, all that kind of thing, which again was Futura and Stash and all that kind of inner circle. But I think it was his first season at Dior, he got Stussy to collab with him. So it's like basically all Sean Stussy's handwriting on all the Dior stuff. It's just cool as fuck. And I got a couple of bits, and it's just, it made me smile because it's kind of like goes back to Stussy doing the double S link, which is like the fake Chanel, or the Stussy with the old Gucci logo and shit like that, and it's like proper come full circle. And instead of ripping off all these fashion houses, he's actually working for a legit fashion house. And then he started going through all this shit that he had in storage, and it's all pre-96 Stussy, which is my fucking era. Like, that's all the stuff I remember. Me and my mate Gary Muirhead, who used to be an assistant manager in Jives, and like, we still got a group chat with all the guys that worked in Jives, still contact pretty much every fucking day, really, as group chats are easy to do. And like, we just keep going on, and it's all these shirts that we used to have that I've lost to the ether, or they're maybe in a bag in my mum's that I didn't count. So I bought a couple of bits of stuff that I bought a shirt that I had, but in a different fabric, like just an old classic Stussy work shirt. But all the larges back then, we used to wear it fucking huge.
There's a baggy look.
But now it fits me. Unfortunately, it fits me the way that it should fit. Yeah. So I just like bought a couple of bits, bought another couple of bits, and just messaged and said, "Look, I'm friends with Stash and Futura Lenny. I came up with this idea years ago to get Bothan, which is the name I used to use when I was DJing with another guy. But when I became famous on the internet, early 2000s, that I've been getting my friends who are artists to do Bothan as a tag in their hand styles, which they're known for, and the artist picks the colour. Would he do it? They're like, yeah, fucking no problem. And I just thought, psh. When the stuff came, it was like fucking 5 different versions.
I seen that. I seen the photo,
like, and one of them's almost the exact, like, it's the same as he wrote. He obviously doesn't use Stussy on the Dior stuff. It was Sean.
Yeah.
Or Dior, I think it was. And the way he wrote Sean was, one of them was exactly the same with the N on the end. And I was like, fucking. But that, to have loved that brand since, I think 89 was the first time I brought it into Valentino's. Used to be a shop called Enzo.
You brought it into Valentino's.
Yeah. What happened was Henry gave us, I can't remember if it was 1,500 quid or £2,000 each to buy something for Valentino's.
Something that you thought would be good for the shop.
So Brechin bought in this brand called Mono Shirts, which any shop in Valentino's would remember that. I bought Stussy, and I can't remember, Henry bought some Italian thing, I can't remember what it was called. And the Stussy, because it was just at the start of Everybody Going to Fatties and like Jeff Young's Big Beat show on the radio on a Friday night and shit like that, like, we sold it out in a weekend. And that was like, whoever sells the most,
like, competition,
that's the brand that we'll put in the shop. And we couldn't get enough of it. And that was the old Stu Vuitton bucket hats, and like, that was 1989. Like, I was going down to London to M Zone, and like, it was literally, got $2,000 to spend, what have you got? And you weren't even getting a size on a t-shirt, so you'd get 2 of that one of that. It was literally like,
run about TK Maxx just trying to pick, and then you can't just to get your thing, get it together. Like,
we did the same, like, Laurie was doing the same, but me and Beckham went down to Sole. Totally, like, and that was like, I'm sure it was Camden High Street.
It makes sense now with this whole hip hop era going on.
Yeah, well, that was like, obviously, like, must have been 89, 90-ish, and we literally went down and came back with bin bags of Soul t-shirts.
You had the hoodies as well.
Everything. Like, bin bags. We literally had half a dozen bin bags each. Train back to London. All these Dundee casuals got on the train. Gary Fox, I remember specifically. I can't remember who else was there.
Great guy.
Absolutely one of my best mates. Absolutely, honestly, he was so protective of me when I first came through, because there was a few folk weren't happy that I had Perth boy coming through to Dundee, and Gary was fucking brand new and really looked after us. We were shitting ourselves. We thought we were going to take all the bags off us. Because they could have.
How many was there?
Probably 8 or 10 of them.
And many was there 3 years?
No, me and Brechin.
2 years.
And Brechin's weirder than me. And I can't fight sleep, man. I was just like, oh, Jesus. No, they were cool. Just like, they were like fucking and stayed mates with Gary. As soon as I moved through here, like Deck was an R1, Stav, like, nah, he's all right. There was a few folk that weren't into it, but after 25 years, I must have been got on all right with everybody. Eventually, totally, aye.
That's just the Dundee mentality, is it? Just to start with.
But that was the other thing, is like Perth, we always thought that we were Dundee's biggest rivals. I think we were just that annoying fucking... And it wasn't until I'd moved through to Dundee that... Because we were thought, fucking us and Dundee is like... Nah. We were just the pest that would just fucking turn up every now and again.
It's just Aberdeen, I experienced it when I was younger, how much Aberdeen hated Dundee.
Oh, aye. Well, that's when... It wasn't until I moved to Dundee that I realised that was the actual rivalry.
Yeah, proper. The first time I ever went up to Pataudry, I got spat on and everything. But I was just like, like the fences just separate the fans. I'm just sitting there and then I had long hair at the time, so I'm sure I was like sort of dripping. But I forgot, where were we again? We were in we're talking about Jives.
Jives, yeah. So again, that was just being in Glasgow at that time. You had like the Subby, you had the Tunnel. The Arches was just beginning to happen.
The Arches is a big thing in history for dance as well, especially
totally.
in Scotland.
The Subby was just because we were mates with the guys that owned it.
What all movements were on the streets this time? Like Acid House has gone away and sort of ravers.
Well, yeah, I think through like Manifesto at that time, I think was kind of like foreign that were getting involved in the whole acid jazz thing, and like the Duffer St George and that real kind of clean, like cool fucking Duffer look, which was just still cool as fuck. Aye, totally. So that was kind of probably more what was going on through here, and like what Sparky was doing in Manifest and Kennedy's, and that was kind of more their thing. Whereas like I was full on, it was like all I wore was Stussy, head to toe. Like it was just, and that happened because in Sky magazine, it was the photographer James LeBon, who is really good friends with he was part of the London Stussy chapter, and used to have like what they were wearing. It was like shoes by Adidas, jeans Levi's. I just had Stussy, just had Stussy, and I was like, and from then, like literally,
so that's where it started for you. Yeah,
just, and that was in Valentino's, so that was like 89, and literally Stussy beach pants. But by that time, Jives as well was the start of the Beastie Boys coming big again, because Ball's Boutique,
a fucking brilliant album, by the way.
Absolutely, but everybody hated it when it came out.
Yeah, it flopped, didn't it?
Aye, because they were all expecting
big
License
success.
to Ill again.
Yeah, because they came off of Def Jam, did the first one?
Yeah, because Russell Simmons stole all their money.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
So, like, we were always mad into them, but when Check Your Head came out, it's still my favourite fucking ever album. So we were kind of, there was that, you had Massive Attack, Protection came out, so much, like Justin Warfield, there was just so many, and then you had the golden era hip hop, you had like fucking Gangstar, you had Brand Nubian, like...
You ever in a KRS-One or that?
Oh god, yeah. Absolutely. That was the first hip hop album I bought properly, I think, was Blueprint for Ghetto Music. And I was just, because that was way, I don't know if it was the first one I bought, it was certainly the first tape I bought. And it was just, all that shit. But like anything.
Yeah, that says one's lyrics are just, never forget them.
Totally.
As soon as you hear
as well,
them.
Rakim.
Yeah. He is called the greatest lyricist of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, like that New York song for me is just, you can't beat that. Like I didn't even want to listen to the G sound half the time.
I was never really that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Once you're rooted in that New York sound, you don't want to hear it.
The whole New York thing, the whole native tongues like De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest, Brand Nubian, like Main Source, all that shit was like...
All the DJs that you've mentioned as well, even Q-Tip and DJ Premier, all that sort of thing. Inspired, the music that came out with there at that time is unbelievable.
But even in Jives, at that time, we were putting on, like, other than the Mo Wax nights, we'd put Pesce on at the sub club, we'd put LTJ Bookham on at the sub club. Like, we were fucking, like, really involved in what was really, really happening at the time as well. Which was...
It was fresh at this time as well,
totally,
was it?
Like that whole scene was fucking fresh. Although we were doing things like going backwards with sneakers, like wearing Air Force Ones, wearing Vandals, wearing Bruins. Beastie Boys were dug out Campus and Shell Toes. And
Well, I think when I think of Beastie
Pumas.
Boys, Campus, straight
Oh
away.
yeah, I mean, my old childhood sweetheart, who's still one of my best friends, she worked for EMI, so she actually worked with the Beastie Boys. So I'd got to meet them a couple of times through her, and she a couple of times.
What's Mike Dee like?
Brilliant. Well, they played Glasgow one night, and then Luscious Jackson.
Is this the Glasgow the gig in '99 when they've
Was
got
that
the
at the end
circular
of the round?
stage? Oh man, I've watched that gig about a million
I
times.
think this one was before that, maybe.
They were jumping about the hood shirts and ties on it.
aye, that
one.
was the one. It was called In
Yeah.
the Round.
Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, that was MTV filmed that. That's
Yeah.
on YouTube. Yeah. So like they had his record label Grand Royal. They were all basically the girl Kate Schillenbach that used to be the drummer in the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, the girl.
So her band Luscious Jackson, who I think it was Gabby Sundin and Jill Cuniff, they were signed to Grand Royal, and Debbie came back from New York and brought me the Luscious Jackson CD and a pair of green Campus. Named the HUD Campus. And I was just like, fucking two best presents I've ever had in my fucking life. Because literally, like, everybody wanted Campus. You couldn't get them in this country at all. So we were
they
all
were made
wrong.
in Japan about that time because I'm sure the Campus like of the 90s.
I didn't even look. I didn't even
Beautiful.
care. I didn't like bright
A lot
green.
more slammed and
Really proper heavy soul. There was
Yeah.
that whole shell toe, really heavy soul in them as well. So, but before that, we were wearing Gazelles, we were wearing Puma States, because that was the only thing that you could get that kind of looked like that.
Yeah.
But she came back with Campus, and I was like,
Keeper.
oh man! But we'd spot up years before that.
Oh,
We
right.
just stayed mates. We'd stay, and she's like, "Here, I knew you'd like these." I'm like, ah, dude, really? But oh yeah, man, that was.
Was that the record label that the Beastie Boys that they grew themselves when they were in the
Yes,
like third album when they're just
Yeah,
basically
that's their best album.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. Like, people say that Paul's Boutique's their Sgt.
I love
Pepper.
Paul's Boutique,
Brilliant album.
but like the third album
And
they went away and built their own
production
studio,
behind
did
that,
they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they did with that was literally they just get stoned and jam.
Yeah, they had like a basketball court in it and shit, did
Half
they?
pipe.
Yeah, half pipe as well, actually.
And
Yeah.
literally they'd jam for hours and then listen back to the tape. Mario Kodato would listen back to the tapes and pick out bits and then they'd form them into songs.
I can't remember what song it was, but MCA had hooked up a loop on a tape around like, I'm sure it was like a seat and a lampshade or some shit. Oh,
Yeah,
it was a
it's
Led
like
Zeppelin
the-
song.
Yeah.
It was that or Level Breakers or something, I think. It was to get, I'm on the spot now, I can't even remember. But just the creativity that I seen that they were going at was...
because it wasn't until I started learning more about the Beastie Boys that how much MCA was the creative driving
Yeah.
force behind the whole thing. Which
MCA
is-
is an absolute legend.
Oh, totally. But Mike Dee, that's the only one that I've spoke to a couple of times, and we'd been to see them the night before. So basically, Slam City Skates, going back to the Jives thing, Slam City Skates was like Gimme 5 distributed Supreme, Bathing Ape, or Very Ape at that time, and then Stussy, and Slam City Skates did like Holmes, Fresh Jive, Fucked, like all these kind of brands. But they did Grand Royal as well. So Mike Dee there was a guy, Russell Waterman there, who's the guy that started Holmes, which became Silas. He used to run Slam City Skates. So we used to go and, when we were down in London doing the buy, and you'd go out to them, and again, it was cash and carry. So you were just we were basically pick all the stuff, they would ship it up, and then we'd get it in the shop in a couple of days. And then they started doing Grand Royal stuff. And we'd obviously thought, give us it, man, we'll fucking take that all day. And the phone went in the shop one Friday. Oh, Dr. Jives, and went, yo, this is Mike Dee.
With the master
And
plan.
he was literally going, I'm just wanting to say, buy more of our stuff. And I was like, is this really you? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, can I be really hard naked? Could you sign a t-shirt for me? And in the next box, there came up, it was a Burgundy Grand Royal t-shirt, and on the back, like, to Scott, lay off the slops, Mike Dee. And apparently they'd went in the Sarri Heed one night, they were playing the Barras for a drink. And there was this old guy there who was paid 50p to just get a pint out of the slop trays.
Oh, God.
And this is what they remembered about Scott. Brilliant.
That is you were on the phone with Mike Dee, man.
So, but it was literally like,
yeah, like.
and then, so another year they played, I'm sure it was the Barras they played, so I think it might have been the Check Your Head tour they did with the Rollins band. If not, it was another year, but Luscious Jackson played in King Tut's the night after. So obviously, being fans, we went to the Beastie Boys, got tickets for Luscious Jackson. Towards the end of the Luscious Jackson gig, he came in. I think it was him, and I think it was Eric Bobo, who's now with Cypress Hill, who's Willie Bobo's son.
Yeah.
And he had this fucking white goose down parka on, just looked cool as fuck. And like everybody's just going up and talking to him. And I went over and I was like, hi Mike, how you doing? I'm Scott from Dr. Jives. And he went, oh dude, he goes, we came looking for your store today and couldn't find it. And I was like, what? And then everybody's coming up and going, right Mike Dee, right. He's like, I don't understand a word anybody's saying to me. But then I'd met them in 99. David phoned and said, look, do you want to come down? And met them sound checking.
Yeah, met MC and everything as well.
Yeah, just hi, how you doing? And then they went, it was just like, dude, really?
That's crazy.
Strange life of
yeah, mate, that is fucking.
It's been the most serendipitous, fortunate.
Even when it comes even at the Addy world, people who watch this for like the Addy perspective, Beastie Boys is a massive part of it, you know what I mean? Massive rooted part of it.
Totally.
That is one of the coolest stories we have had today on this, definitely. Sitting on the phone.
Hundreds of cool stories. It's just trying to prompt them.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to dig them out with you just now. I'm trying my best. What year were we at? It was
about 94, 95, 96, I think at this point.
Right, so what? I forgot exactly.
So what happened then?
I just got a wee bit of, what do you call it? Starstruck, can you? Have you heard a wee Mike Dee story there?
So Jives was kind of, my time at Jives was kind of coming to an end. Like, Gordon that owned it, who used to be really, really good mates with, it kind of got a bit fractious. So I just phoned Sparky that had Kennedy's, which was part of the whole manifesto thing. Just says, look, I think I'm moving back. You got any jobs? He's like, get your job in a minute. There wasn't actually a job, but so I came back, started working there.
Wanted you part of the team?
Yeah. And then basically the partners all split up. Sparky and Florey went together, kept manifesto, and they're like, if you're coming now. That was 96. So for then to probably the early 2000s, it was just cool. Good being in Dundee, but nothing really too mental. I didn't get anything too mental happened. And then early 2000s, it just all went tits up with famous on the internet, meeting likes of Stash, Futura, but meeting Stash again after mid-90s. And then what had basically happened was MySpace started.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody had one.
But the first platform of social media, really,
right,
was it?
Pretty much, yeah. So I started, we digital camera, and in my flat in Brown Street, so I took my picture of my shoes every day, and every Sunday put them up as a weekend sneaks for years. And then started getting more involved with the sort of resurgence of the streetwear thing in the early 2000s. Started connecting with more and more people that were kind of getting more involved with it. All the guys that used to be in Jives were still involved with it.
What are you wearing about this time? What is like your preferences?
Supreme and Bathing Ape.
Right.
Massively.
What on your feet?
Would have been anything Nike. It was all like, you're talking, this was the start of not necessarily collabs, but mental colours. Remember, Nike for fucking hundreds of years said they were an athletic company. Fuck off. Bullshit, man. They played to that market at the start, but pretended they didn't. So this is when things like Pink Air Force Ones were coming out. But the flat we had in Brown Street, our mortgage was £200 a month. So I had like fucking money to play with, man. It was just like, and I was just buying sneakers all the time. Sample size. This was the birth of eBay and things like that. So
now you could go and look for stuff that you've never actually had to access.
Put Nike sample in. Fucking hundreds of great shit came up because nobody else was looking for Nike samples. They were looking for Air Force Ones or Dunks or. And I was just putting Nike sample. These, like, again, I've got Futura, like the Stash BWs I was on about earlier on, that was part of an artist pack. So they took an actual artist, a musician, and an actor. And I think when the Stash ones was Stash did a BW, I think Sarah Jessica Parker did something. And
Girl for Sex in the City.
yeah. And then some singer did one. And then Futura did the artist pack, he did Blazer Highs. And Halle Berry did a riff, I think. I don't remember what singer it was. So it was like 3 artists. So you're an actor, an artist, and thingy. So when Futura was doing his, there was some, I think it was a Japanese magazine showed a photo. So basically the ones he finally picked were called Curry Jedi. So like basically shades of camo. Like, so you'd like different bits of green, a curry, a black. And it was based on, I think it was a German camo or something. But he did 2 other samples. And one was gold suede with a black swoosh. And the other one was 2 shades of grey with a lemon swoosh. Cool as fuck. I liked the other 2 better than the actual one he went for. And I was speaking to him about it because I ended up getting the yellow and black samples off eBay because I typed in like sample. It came up and I was like, I know what they are. Got them for like 80 quid or something. So, still never ever seen the grey and yellow samples other than the ones Lenny's got. Lenny's been Futura, that Lenny had in his studio. And I bought them off of somebody that worked, well, basically it was somebody that lived near Beaverton in Oregon. So somebody either worked at Nike but I think somebody said that they either donate stuff to loads of charity shops up there. So I don't know if it was one of them.
Yeah, just in the area or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like that, but I didn't care. So when, again, one Sunday night, my mobile went in the house. I'm in Perth by this point, and it was Futura, and I'm like, hey man, what's happening? Are you phoning? He's like, look, I'm in Paris. I was thinking about coming to Scotland. Where would you recommend? Like, I'm going to fly into Edinburgh. Do you know any good hotels? And I was like, come and stay with us. Because he's known me and Gail like since 2005, I think. I can't remember what year this was. It was when he did the piece in the shop.
Right,
in
yeah,
Dundee.
yeah.
I was like, come and stay with us. And then this was when you'll be able to date it because it was when he did the Air Force One lows. There was like silver ones and stuff like that. And we had Nike at the time in the shop. And I said to him, I was like, draw a point, man, on the wall, just like where the shoe shelves are. So like when the shoes come in, and he was like, he came through the shop, hung out with a few of my mates through here. He's like, get me 2 cans of black spray paint and a marker. And that's when he did that piece in the wall. And once he'd finished it, he nudged me and he went, it's better than a poi man, isn't it? I was like, fuck yeah. So when we went to the house, like what was a spare bedroom in the house is where I've got all of these shoes and cases, turntables and all my records and stuff.
Man cave.
Pretty much, but I wouldn't call it that. It's the record room we call it. And Lenny was like, because at one point I had the biggest collection of Futura stuff, like from clothes, shoes, toys, everything, a few bits of art, but not like, there's another friend of mine, Patrick, He's got probably the biggest collection of paintings. He lives in Paris. So between the two of us, we've got quite a lot of shit. When he walked in, he was looking, he's like, fuck, I forgot about them. Like, I've got like every skateboard he's done. He did stuff with Zoo York and shit like that. Maharishi ones and that. He's like, well, yes. Went, saw the yellow samples and he went, how the fuck did you get them? But like sample on eBay, because I honestly thought I had the only pair of them in the world. That's a thing. He's like, you and I have the only 2 pairs of them.
Wow. So he was actually shocked to see.
Yeah, he didn't know. He didn't realise there was any more made.
This is what I mean. You never actually know how many samples are made, do you?
No.
You know what I mean? Whether it be 1, whether it be 5 to complete, you don't know.
50, like, yeah.
You just don't know.